Pennies Going in Raw is a production of iHeartRadio. The opinions expressed in the following podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security or investment product. It is only intended to provide education and entertainment about the financial industry and the stock market. Enjoy!
On this episode of Pennies Going in Raw, we discuss credit and finding your strategy as a trader without having much success.
You find out life's this game of pennies.
Oh, you guys know we only have a 40% runner. Hello, 40% is a fucking killing.
We've been compliant for too long. It's time we go to war.
I don't have a Roth.
Hugh knows so much about the market that his brain doesn't have enough room for grammar.
Hey, who told me about IDEX? It's going up a shit ton now.
We're up 4%, baby. No way. 4 fucking percent.
You asked the exact same question with 2 words different.
It's like, man, I just got dick whipped for like 20%, and now that f***er's up like 50.
I bet Warren Buffett never did that.
I'm just making this voice memo to call out unusual whales to a fight.
The pennies we need are everywhere around us. Pennies.
Going in Raw.
Featuring Dan, Deity of Dips,
And Hugh, honey.
Produced by Vinny.
And Christian.
Let's go, baby.
Welcome back to another episode of Pennies Going in Raw. Today is Wednesday, November the 24th, and you know it's a weird week. I mean you have things like Tesla and SPY, these crazy ranges, like Tesla down 5% in a day, like SPY going from 360 or 468 to 474. You know, there's quite a big range on a lot of these.
Yeah, I don't want to say that we called it, but we did say that there would be a pretty big disconnect on this low volume SPY. And I mean that's what I honestly continue to expect. And I don't mind when we're inside a range because it just gives a chance for technicals to catch up. So I'm okay with SPY being in a range. But the difficult thing about trading in a range when things are disconnected is that what you usually expect to happen. So for instance, when SPY goes down, Apple and Tesla go down. When there's a disconnect, sometimes there's things that lag really hard, or sometimes they don't even go together. So that's something to keep in mind, especially when we're inside low volume. But overall, you know, I think that the rest of the year there will be tons of opportunities. You know, we talked about it a lot with small caps. Small caps have gotten obliterated pretty hard, and I think after this week, heading into December, things will start to heat up because what big funds do is that they do, they're tax selling, but then they also get ready for the next year, buying up, things into the end of the year that they like. So I think that's kind of where we're at right now, and we'll see that transition.
Yeah, and you've also seen a lot of these like newer IPOs kind of get crushed. They had like an uptrend, and now it's just kind of like they're so beat down. Do you find like a spot where you're like, oh, okay, maybe these are a good entry again? Or, at what point do you find the price action of an IPO to finally be like, okay, this is definitely the bottom and this reversal's here now? And it's not because, with some of these IPOs, like we always say, I mean, the cost basis just isn't quite there yet. I mean, or not cost basis, but the personality doesn't quite exist yet.
Yeah. And part of that is, so there's 2 things to this. One, the really great thing about IPOs from a trader's perspective is that they can't drop an offering because there would be no point, they're coming to market. They'll already have cash. And then the other thing is that management can't sell, and most of the time they're inside this really heavy lockup period. So that's like the one perspective. But the other perspective is that these IPOs have a quiet period. And the thing with the quiet period is that, they're not going to release any news during that quiet period. With DATS, what we saw is that we saw DATS, because DATS is a social media app, you were able to see longs and traders who were holding the stock as a swing. They were able to find out their own DD because, it was an app. There's so much information out there. So even though the quiet period wasn't for, a few weeks out, there was so much social chatter and there was so much DD being floated around different social media apps that and you were actually able to use the app. So that was like the other
you
part.
could actually
that
see
was okay.
it, like tangible. Almost.
Yeah, exactly. Where some of these other IPOs, where it's like, oh my God, like this is going to be the next stats. Well, they're inside a quiet period for like the next month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, some of them. So they're not going to be releasing any news. So if the entire small cap market is inside like the kind of this downtrend, then you have to keep that in mind, because what is going to be the reason for this IPO to go up right now? You know, like it does have a low market cap, yes. But if they're not allowed to release any news, what is really going to be the reason for them to go up? So that's something to keep in mind. Now, if the chart changes on some of these that have gotten killed and it starts uptrending, fine, that might be a reason. But from a fundamental catalyst standpoint, you have to ask yourself, what is the reason right now for this to change?
We got two little topics here. One's finding your strategy as a trader without much success, kind of, as a newer trader. And the other one being credit. Which one do you want to dive into first here?
We can do credit first since Black Friday is upon us and the holidays are upon us. Because, no, go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say. I mean, I know you're a big credit guy. You want everyone to make sure no one's in debt and everything. So definitely,
my biggest
time of the year to do it.
My biggest thing, okay, I love trading, but I can get behind the fact that not everybody is gonna love trading. Like I can get behind that. I'm not stoked when people are like, I don't like managing my portfolio, but I can understand. I can empathize with that, especially because my parents didn't look at their 401ks for like 15 years. Like I was the person to look at their 401ks. So I can empathize with that. But I also have a passion inside personal finance because I truly feel that everybody should at least want to educate themselves on how they can do little things to really increase their net worth. Like that's what all this kind of comes down to. Like when we went out to that college and we were talking about credit cards, and we were saying that opening the difference between maybe $50,000 to $100,000 in loan repayment on your house at 35 can be the difference of starting a credit card at 18. Like that, like most people don't understand that, but that's true. Like that is a real thing. So when it comes down to it, I really do have that passion for personal finance, and I like it, and I'm starting to enjoy it just a little bit more because I truly do think that everyone should care about it. So with the holidays coming up, it is really, really, really easy to just swipe your credit card. I mean, it is incredibly easy. So there's two things I want to get into. One is kind of how to fight that FOMO a little bit. And then two, the difference between credit and debit cards, because a lot of people don't actually know the difference between credit and debit. For anyone that doesn't know, your debit card is usually linked to a bank account, or you can even link it to your TD Ameritrade account. And that money, when you swipe it, comes directly out of that account. So you have to have that cash present. If you go over, it's a over withdrawal fee or whatever. A credit card is like you're borrowing money. So you borrow money from, let's call it American Express, and then you pay them back after your statement period or whenever your due date is. Now, a lot of people fight with me because because let's take Dave Ramsey, for example. Dave Ramsey hates credit cards because he doesn't think he should be borrowing money. Now, I am in line with a lot of what Dave Ramsey says and thinks, and his psychology behind things. But the one thing that I don't agree with is him not loving credit cards, because at the end of the day, there's a few things that credit cards do that debit cards don't. And part of that is the security. American Express, if someone steals my credit card or even guesses, let's just say they somehow guess my credit card number and the expiration date and all that, and they swipe my credit card, American Express, if I go to them and say, hey, I didn't swipe that, they will actually fight that case for me. The debit card, if that happens with a debit card, you've already paid for it. So you're kind of screwed. when you use that credit card, there's kind of like that middleman that gives you that security, because at the end of the day, if you don't pay them, it's still kind of on them. So they kind of do give you that little bit of security. The next thing is that by using a credit card, if you, let's take like a $500 credit card maximum, balance, and you pay that off for years and years and years, you're going to become what's called a trustworthy. You're going to become a trustworthy creditor. And so they're going to increase that expenditure, increase that loan, and they're going to allow you to borrow more money because they trust you more. And when they trust you more, you're not going to be as high risk. So even though your credit card might only have $1,000, $2,000 limit, when you go to buy that house at 35, they're going to look at your credit card score and they're going to say, okay, I've been using, Dan's been using his credit card for 15 years. He's never missed a payment. And although he has a lower credit limit, it doesn't matter because he pays it off every time. And so because he's less of a risk, on this house, this $400,000 house that he wants to buy, we're going to give him a 2% lower interest rate. When you do the math on a 30-year mortgage, that can literally be the difference of $50,000 to $100,000, depending on the price, depending on the loan, depending on the loan. But my point is that 1 or 2 percentage points can really make the difference. And that comes down to your debit and your credit, because your debit card is not going to build you any credit. So that is why, similar like why I'm a fan of Roth over other retirement accounts. I have my reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the same things that are important to you or priority to you, but that's the reason that I personally like credit cards over debit cards. Now, that being said, the issue with credit cards and the reason that Dave Ramsey doesn't like them, we touched on it earlier, is because you are borrowing money at the end of the day. And if you borrow money that you don't have, you can get yourself screwed. I have a friend who has $100,000 in credit card loans. The interest rate on those credit card loans are like 15%. That means that 15,000.
It's like going to one of those like title loans, quick cash kind of things, where it's like 40%.
When he told me, man, I mean, I'll tell you, so that means that on that 15%, with a 15% on that $100,000 every single year, he's at least paying $15,000 in interest. So if he pays, so let's just say that he pays down $24,000 a year, $2,000 a month, which is a lot of money. He's only paying off 9% of the principal when it comes down to it. I mean, that is how the rat race starts, because then you have to borrow money to live, and then you get a loan on top of that, and then you file for bankruptcy, then you can't get a house, and then you can't get a car. It's honestly like a big rat race that we could go into. So if you cannot be responsible with a credit card,
it ends up with you on meth. So
I mean, there's a few ending spots, but yeah, I mean, there's a potential. So if you can't trust yourself with credit, don't do that, or just make sure that your limit's low. The one thing that, because a lot of times, I get homies that are in college and they want to know what credit card they should open. Dan and I talked about this at a school. What was that, in September? And in September. And so the one thing is, two things: if you're a student or if you file for bankruptcy and you are still inside that 7-year period and you're trying to build up some credit, open up a Discover It card. Now, the difference between the Discover card and the other cards is that it works in a way where like you have to pay off the balance before you use the balance, or they'll just give you like a super low limit, like $250. I think my first credit card ever was. And what that's going to do is that's kind of like your baby leap. And then in a year later, open up like a American Express Gold card. And then a year later, open up like a Chase Freedom card, or actually do the Chase Freedom card first and then the American Express. Because most of the time the American Expresses are going to have a yearly fee. So that's what I would do. And then that's going to give you a really good, the Discover card's not really going to give you any rewards points. The American Express is going to give you the rewards points. And the Chase Freedom is just going to kind of give you like 1 or 2% cash back on like everything, which is great. And that's going to give you a really, and then in 5 years, you can build up, if you're just buying coffee on this and you're buying Christmas presents, like you can get your credit card score high. And that's going to, if you're 18, 19, you can build up by the time you're 30. I mean, you'll have an 850 credit card score, even if you only make, minimum wage, let's call it. Now,
what if your credit's already fucked?
Well, that's the thing is that you have to work yourself back up. So the cool thing is that similar to going to jail or or what is it? What's it called? Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations, yeah.
Yeah, statute of limitations. Similar, like if you file for bankruptcy, then it follows you, but it does, things do start to wean off of your record. Similar to,
statute of limitations is like if you commit a crime like 20 years later, you can't get charged with it anymore. So think maybe.
Well, then what is it? What is it? Like in high school, we get caught smoking pot. Like 5 years later, it's off your record. What's that called?
Expunged.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Dude,
I don't know.
Hugh was always
it
a
just
good
stays
kid.
on your record, man.
Dude, Hugh never got caught smoking pot behind the bleachers. You know what I mean?
I got caught smoking pot in a lot of places.
Really?
I mean, it wasn't like I was the best at hiding it, but I mean, now it's cool. You can just smoke weed in Target if you have adaptants. I mean, it's whatever. Like times have changed.
Yeah. But so that's what I'm trying to say is that all of this takes time. But hey, listen, if I told you that, if I told you that all you have to do is open up a credit card, buy coffee on it, and pay it back for the next 5 years, and that's a difference of $50,000, I mean, who the hell wouldn't do that? That's my point when I'm trying to get to all this. Now, the other thing is, and this is like the frugal side of it.
Wait, I thought I was supposed to make coffee at home, and now I'm supposed to buy it with a credit card?
Well, no, you are supposed to buy it at home. But if you have like a 5-figure day and you want to go buy a $1 coffee, like I'm okay with that.
And that'll save me $50,000?
Well, that's the thing is that dude, I just explained it.
Okay, I know. I mean, it's just now I'm going to start going to McDonald's a little more to get my $1 coffee with my Apple
I'm just saying that when it comes down to it, okay, if you can get your credit card score inside the 800s and you have a credit history of about 10 years, that's going to give you a real substantial difference when you go and get a loan. So if you buy like $1 million house,
well, you know what sucks though is the fucking they're like, hey man, your credit's great, but you don't have enough history, and I was like, well, man. Who cares?
That's where I'm at. That's where I was at for the last like 3 or 4 years.
So now I was like, well, fuck, I guess I'll just pay off half the car and just pay off the rest of it to build my fucking credit. They're like, well, you don't have enough credit to get a loan. And I was like, well, then how the fuck am I going to build my credit if I can't get this fucking loan? And yeah, so that was my personal rat race.
That's a big, it comes down to, now think about if you had just started using credit, this year at 26?
Well, when I got the car, it was my first year using credit. That was the issue.
So that's what I mean is that imagine this crazy clusterfuck, because now we're getting into the fun areas. Imagine that you go through college, you have $100,000 in student loans, no credit history, and then you try and buy a house. They're going to screw you on the interest rates. I mean, they're truly going to screw you because you have no history. Which means that, nobody knows if you're able to pay this off. So they're going to give you, so they have to, back themselves. So they're going to give you a super high interest rate. When they give you a super high interest rate, if that's not, if you run into some catastrophic, terror or some shit, then, and you can't pay that off, then you have to borrow another
natural
loan.
disaster.
I remember that episode. But my point is that it truly is a rat race. So if you don't have 3 credit cards, open up another one and then open up another one in a year. Now, if you can't trust yourself with credit, I mean, seriously, you should still have credit cards, but you could just cut them up. It's better if they just sit there than you overspending. The other thing is that checkout. Like I know for a fact that American Express, like I get like 80 not $80. Like I think I get $10 free in Uber every year. Every month. So like
you get one free Uber a month to like half a mile. Sick.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Fuck yeah.
No, okay, but the thing is that these little things add up. Like Saks Fifth Avenue. I've never shopped at Saks Fifth Avenue, but I get like $50 free every quarter from them. So I bought a $49 shirt from them. Like fuck it, why not? Like it's free. And like, don't tell mom this, but one of mom's Christmas gifts was paid for thanks to American Express and the rewards points. And that might be one of her big Christmas gifts. But so my point is that like you can do little things that like will seriously help out. Like it's important, and your credit truly is important. Like we joke around a lot about just pay for everything in cash and stuff. And I truly do believe that you should pay for that you should pay off your credit card loans. I mean, your credit cards almost immediately. Like I pay off my credit card, probably every other day. And so it basically becomes like a debit card. But if you are the type of person that that you won't be able to do that, then just get a Discover card and cut it the fuck up. Because at the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen is you owe on your credit cards. Because those loans, as I said about my friend, like they add up quickly. And again, interest rates are low right now. So if interest rates rise, those loans can go up to 20% easily. I'll stop ranting on this subject, but you can easily fuck yourself with this stuff. But again, it's important and it's essential. That's all.
All right. Well, next topic then. We're done talking about credit cards and shit. So a lot of new traders, it's tough to find a strategy because there's so many strategies out there, and you want one to work. We always talk about use your strategy. But as a new trader, you don't have that strategy. Let's say you even did the paper trading route and, you thought it worked, and then you get into it and your emotions kind of fuck with you. And so that won't work. So like, how exactly can a newer trader find their strategy? I mean, I remember like I quit before I found my strategy and had to dive back in, it was one of those things where my strategy just, every single one I took just didn't work until I finally was like, okay, I am a scalper, and I was chill scalp.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is that I'm hearing is that it's really easy to roll through strategies without truly trying them out. And when you do that, obviously you're not going to give them enough sample size. Like, yes, there are tons of strategies out there, and you want to find the one that fits you. But it's going to be similar to, and I don't like this example because I don't know if this is the right example, but it's similar to like finding a job. You can go, first off, you got to go to college, and you got to, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. You got to go to college and pick a degree.
College, bro. I thought.
No,
this is just for the metaphor.
I'm a fan of college.
Yeah, dude. No college football. Good point.
No, I can't. But my point is that first you have to pick a degree field, and then you go to that degree field, and there's so many different jobs that you could do, and nobody knows what exactly to do.
There should be a flow chart. Like, hey, are you emotional?
You know me, bro.
Yes. Okay. Stop loss.
Yeah. But seriously, like that's like it is a hard thing. Like I truly do feel blessed that I was able to find trading, and that I still love trading. Like I lost like 150 grand yesterday, and I still love this shit. Like most people probably wouldn't say that. So my point is that when you're finding a strategy, it takes time. Okay, all of this takes time. Like it does suck that it does take this much time, especially when you go on Twitter and you see people like today. I saw some guy on Reddit. Listen to this shit. He had $700 and he YOLO'd them into Zoom expiring tomorrows or something. And they were super out of the money, and they hit. And they turned $700 into 50 grand. And then he did, the very next day, he rolled that $50,000 into SPY puts expiring the next day, pretty far out of the money, and you turned into like $120,000.
If I were him, I would have done margin and put $100,000 into the SPY puts and got $200,000. So that's just me.
It seems like a no-brainer. Like,
yeah, I mean,
we just got to think about it.
I mean, I knew SPY was going to dump 2%. You know,
but that's my point. Is that so? Like when you see stuff like that, it's like me. It's like, yeah, like of course I want to go fucking, balls deep in SPY puts tomorrow, but I'll lose everything, just like everybody else. But my point is that all this takes time, and it's not easy with social media. With everyone
just
making
shows
stupid
that
money.
Not many people show their losses. Everyone shows their gains, and you just see them all, and you're like, man, well, fuck this. Like everyone else is balling, because every day someone's gonna be green. So every day you're gonna see someone on social media post about how good their day was. And I mean, and it's like every other social media where you see, damn, wow, this chick is always in Ibiza. No, she just bought 12 outfits to Ibiza and just posts the pictures all year long.
That was a pretty good analogy. That was impressive. Is that
I miss her so much, man. Damn it. I just wish she'd come back,
Yo, also, hey, can I just say something real quick? Yesterday we did that radio tour, and when the guy was like, what did he say to us? He said, it feels like we're all doing this together or something. Do you remember what he said? The arrow? We liked him a lot.
Okay, yeah, the conversational one.
And he said like it feels like everybody's just inside the same room as us. Like that made me smile a lot.
Yeah, no, it was like
I was like, props to us, baby.
Our best shot.
Hey, like we're actually making this work. Like props to us, baby. Incredible. But anyway, where were we? What were we talking about? Strategies. Finding the right strategy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, because social media makes it so, everyone...
Social media makes it so hard. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. But it's like finding the right girl. You know what I mean? It's like finding the right partner. You have to go through the bad.
You might have to get a divorce.
You might have to get a divorce. And what's that one movie?
And that means you lost half your money. So you don't want to go through a divorce. But, sometimes
it happens. Or it's like that movie where they get married 3 times. Like you find the perfect girl, and then you fook things up because you think she's not the one, and then you go back to her, and then you get divorced again, and then you go back to her.
My trading strategy sometimes feels like the movie 50 First Dates, where I just wake up and I'm like, what the fuck happened? Like, who are you?
So the thing is, the point that I'm trying to get here is that you truly do need patience. One of the things that I would try and do is that if I were redoing this, and I still try out different strategies, is that I would create a whole separate account, just to dedicate to that one strategy. And most of the time I'll put in $25,000 just so that I can day trade with it. But, if I were everyone else, or, if you are successful already, then, put $500 into that account. And if it's something like day trading, just buy with one share. That's going to give you the flexibility to where it's not going to screw it up if everything tanks. But inside the same token, if it does work, you can now scale up. Because at the end of the day, we always talk about this, but the worst thing that can happen is that absolute worst thing that can happen is wow, where the fuck was I going with that?
Worst thing that can happen is you lose your money trying to learn new strategies to where you can't try your other strategies. But I mean, I would say do it with more like 10 shares, because you need to, scaling out should be a big part, or scaling in and shit like that should be at least a big part of, any newer traders, strategy, just to secure gains. And with that, you can say, hey, this is, if I sell 2, it's 20% of my position. If I sell 5, it's 50%, or I just sell 9 and I'm letting just 10% ride because it went up X amount,
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. And that's the thing though, is that, but if you start to see success, scale up a little bit, or if you're feeling frisky, but the last thing that you want to do is throw, $5,000 and lose 50% of the account. But and even more so is that you got to have patience with it. It's going to take you probably a quarter to figure out if that strategy works for you. Like, that's what it truly comes down to. Like, if I were you, I would treat it like I would figure out, first off, similar to college, like we were just talking about, is that I would figure out what field you want to be in. Like, are you okay with swinging things, or can you not, like, or will you just be, eye blitzed and, be all fooked up if you're swinging things overnight? Like, if you can't handle that, then obviously don't do that.
You're right with the classes and shit, though. It's kind of like, the first class you take could be awesome. That's just the market being hot. And then you get to financial accounting and you're like, oh, fuck, maybe supply chain management isn't for me. And I failed it twice and I ended up dropping out.
Yeah, get to the weed out class.
Personal story, but.
Yeah, like, what is it, Orgo for doctors or something, or some nonsense like that?
Dude, I couldn't make it in business school. You think I could fucking? You think any patient would allow me close to them?
But seriously, I do think that it's important that if you, I think if I were everyone and I was inside like kind of situation you were just talking about, to where it's like, maybe I tried what I felt like is every single strategy, and I'm looking for a new strategy. I would first, since you kind of tried out all of them, then, or what you feel is like all of them, then, figure out if you can swing trade or day trade. And then based on that, are you more technical or are you more fundamental? If you're like a fundamental trader, and you're trading from the day trading side, then maybe it's one of those things where, like, if you know that a company just released like a fluff PR, maybe you're more of like a short trader. You gotta have that news scanner
up, If you're gonna be like, I'm a day trader and you're more fundamental, you gotta have that news chart up. But if you're more technical, you gotta have charts up, and same. And if you realize you're a swing trader and it's a fundamental thing, you gotta have fucking earnings reports up. It's shit like that. It almost is a flow chart. We may need someone to make it.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Make a flow chart, homies. So that's what I think that comes down to, is that you got to kind of figure out, are you a day trader or are you a swing trader? And you can be both. That's okay. But you can be both. It just comes down to really figuring that out, and then taking a quarter, and then once you figure that out, maybe identify 3 or 4 strategies and do that for the next year. 2022 is coming up. We have about 5 weeks left inside the market this year, so maybe you learn as much as you can about the different strategies, hone down into 3 or 4, and for the next 3 quarters, try out 3 different strategies on top of, maybe your quote unquote successful one. If you already are like a successful trader, or if you're just getting into it, try out those 3 strategies, one the first quarter and then one the second quarter. And then let's just say that you're super successful with the first one. That's fine. Keep that one up, but then start another account for the second one. Maybe scale up into the first one and try the second one. And maybe you even make some money on the side, stuff like that. And then once you get to the 4th quarter, so where we're at this time next year, maybe you have like a great win rate. Like maybe you have like a 60%, 70% win rate, and your account is up 300% on the year. Like that's what we want to see, because at the end of the day is that if you can do that, and it takes you 1 year to learn an entire strategy, and what I mean by learn, I mean like get down the basics, get down the fundamentals, get down a systematic strategy, and then from there you can replicate that. We got 20, once you figure out your systematic strategy, and once you can replicate that, and once you create, you have that win rate, then it's all like muscle memory at that, to a certain degree, and it comes down to muscle memory and removing different variables, because once you have it down, I mean, it's over. It's like riding a bike. It's kind of like, actually, that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah, and you'll always know you'll be able to get back on that bike. Like, you'll always know, hey, if I'm losing money, I just need to sit back, get back to my strategy. And another good thing when it comes to learning it is find people to trade with, like, that are trying the same strategy and maybe adding on some different ones as well. And I mean, that's how you perfect scanners. That's how you perfect trades. Like we always say, someone can make a ton of money off the exact same stock that someone lost a ton on. And I think that's like the beauty in all of it is the more voices, as long as they're there to help you, are always going to be good. So just having people around, even if they're learning the same thing, they can, trial and error together, eliminates one mistake for yourself. Put that shit on a book.
Yeah, baby.
All right, fellas. Well, Thanksgiving is tomorrow, so everyone, enjoy your time with your friends and family. And remember to be thankful for, the shit you got, especially if you're a full-time trader. You don't got to go to work. And if you're trading at all, I mean, it's an awesome thing. So let's all love each other and be thankful for each other. Put that shit on a book too. Love y'all. See y'all Sunday. Ho, 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 gentlemen. The holidays came early here at Manscaped, the leading men's hygiene brand. Manscaped just launched new products, including their all-new ultra-premium body wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. It's time to give yourself, or someone who needs it, the gift of beautiful skin, hair, and balls this holiday season. Go to manscaped.com and use code PGIR for 20% off and free shipping.
Pennies Going in Raw is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.